So, good evening, good evening, good evening. We are back again. We are back again. It's been a long time coming. With schedules that we've had, World Cups, Christmas fixtures, me not
A
getting
bunch
my
of
right, being on Spanish time, not English time, and then obviously the other streams that I've been doing and you've been doing as well. Eventually, we have arrived, James. How are you, man? Happy New Year.
uh, do you know what's so annoying as well? I couldn't be here in my proudest form, best quality. Audio's terrible because the laptop has decided to do a Bandulu. Warning as well. Phone's on very low percentage. If that happens, luckily I can still use my audio. So you might just get a scouse voice for the remaining 10 minutes, but it should be good for about 20 to 25. But
No,
that's
that's
the
fine.
second alternative. And then hopefully I can sort out OBS and become a bit smarter. And this is why I'm a footballing YouTuber. And I'm not even good enough to do that. So, besides from being an absolute failure in life, I'm marvellous. Thank you very much.
Anyone who's any good at OBS, hit James up because I'm clueless with it.
Please. Do
Hit him
you know,
up.
all it's saying is that I'm on Skype, and I'm not on Skype. I can tell you that now. And it's telling me to reload my laptop so it won't access my camera. If anyone has a clue, James Redmond 97 on Insta would be boss.
There you go. You heard it there. But yes, plenty to talk about. Last time we spoke, Liverpool in the doldrums. Fast forward a couple of months, James, and you got a victory last night. What a cracking goal from Harvey Elliott, by the way. The only
Great
real
goal.
bit of quality in the whole game. It was a bit of a snooze fest watching last night. But listen, you played a little bit better than you have done in recent weeks, especially against Brighton. Oh my days, Brighton. Listen, calls and Brighton Munich. They were Brighton Munich the other day. They were fantastic, man. But Liverpool, injuries galore. The manager's having to come out and say he's not leaving. We're at that time right now where I look at it and I think your fan base, and I watched you on the Big Six Extra last night, and mate, I love listening to you because you just say it as it is. And you're right. Like, a lot of them players, he's picking players that shouldn't be in the team. Mo Salah being one of them. He's been awful this season.
Terrible.
You've spent money. You've spent money in the wrong areas. You've still got Oxlade-Chamberlain at the club. James Milner played again last night. Klopp's coming out saying that he's not leaving, but me personally, I think that this is make or break. I know you've got the ownership thing going on in the background, but we did this with Wenger for a long, long time when he should have left, and I just feel that Klopp's going to hang on. He's not going to want to admit defeat or anything like that. And of course, listen, he's been fantastic, but Liverpool fans are going to become very sentimental if you do this again next season. They're going to be like, okay, some will turn, of course, but then there'll be the infighting, and we see that with Wenger in, Wenger outs, etc., etc. Where are you with this whole thing, man? Like, obviously, it's not just one issue at Liverpool. There's millions of issues by the looks of it. You've got players injured, the ownership going on in the background, the manager's not got any plan B. Your top performers are not performing anymore. What happens here? Where'd you go from here, man?
It's a weird one in football because everything can change overnight, and I don't think that happens this season. But I feel like Klopp's long-term future, I don't know. I feel like it'd be a big shame to just say, "Oh no, Klopp's going to struggle in the future because he's struggling right now." Not saying that's what you've just said, but people seem to be noticing inconsistencies, and they'll bring up the seventh season, and I don't believe in it too much. Plus, we don't know what happens after the seventh season. I mean, you have to believe it because he's been shiting every seventh season at the club that he's been at, but we don't know what happens after. And here's the score with me. I know things can change overnight. I know he's not our main problem. And I think the difference is, I know you felt like Arsene Wenger and it was time to go. And I absolutely can appreciate your point of view on that one. I think for me, the biggest disservice towards Arsene Wenger, not saying he didn't maximise the circumstances he was in, but I do believe the owners and, the investment side of things was a huge, huge part to play in the demise. And I think he did overachieve in hindsight with some of those squads that he had. And of course, every manager will underachieve in some seasons. I've seen it with the best. And if we held Jurgen Klopp to the same standards as, let's say, Sir Alex Ferguson, to where he never won a trophy in his first 7 years at United, then the landscape changes. So you can't just use case studies based off the past 10 years. You actually can use case studies based on football in previous time when you give managers an extensive period of time. And thankfully, we're not going into this seventh season trophyless. We've won everything. Now it's just about multiplying it. And the Dortmund CEO said the same thing in 2019. It's much easier to replace world-class players opposed to a world-class manager and a world-class coach. And I think that really does stand to the test of time because, we can go and get a new manager, but the players are still going to be there. Salah's still going to be on the 300 to 400k a week contract. Or We can get a new winger with a little bit more hunger, a little bit more agency, something to prove. Because this is the thing, Lee. These are footballers, and you can't blame them when they start sitting back like Dele Alli and that. I don't even hate Dele Alli for what he's done. I can understand the disappointment from fans from where they thought he was going to be. But come on, man, he came from a poor background. He's earned way more money than what he ever thought he could have. As a natural human instinct, he's kicking back. Humans lose the incentive. It is then of the obligation for the football club, the owners, the people who are going to invest, which I need to remind people, it's just not Klopp's job. His job is to tell people about how he's going to implement them into the style of play. But recruiting players is just a different part at Liverpool. It's not really his role. He doesn't have as much of a say. And with that, you've got to get somebody, you know, I say with Mo Salah, why not play Harvey Elliott right wing? Because you're not going to go and buy a new right winger. And you probably shouldn't, considering you need to go and get 2-3 midfielders, maybe another centre-back as well. I just see it being a point of view of Jurgen Klopp needs to get players who are hungry. These players clearly aren't, and he can't dive into his resources. People will say these are excuses. Every team's got an excuse for something. If Arsenal don't win the league, it could be because you didn't go and buy a striker to replace Gabriel Jesus in January. Let's say if you don't do that. There's an excuse for everything. But it's just, what can this manager do with the right resources? Well, I've seen it. You've seen it. He's done great things. He was the last manager to win a title with Dortmund. The Dortmund CEO was saying we haven't replaced Klopp since he left. And bear in mind, he had Thomas Tuchel, another great coach. But this is why I say there's levels. There's a difference between a world-class coach and someone who can just do different stuff. His volume of trophies don't suggest it, but the circumstances of which he won those trophies certainly do. I just don't think with these owners, who do we go out and get, Lee? Thomas Tuchel. And he has the same issue where he might get too many injuries and we can't replace them because of the limited budget. Meanwhile, Newcastle are getting better. City are going to come back. I don't know about you guys, to be honest, just because I question your board. I think you can be good for the next couple of seasons, but again, like us, will you kick on when you need to? And I just don't think we capitalised on kicking on. So, yeah, like in an extended version, I'm dead confused on everything, but I think you've got to label it to more than one thing.
Oh, 100% it's more than one. Big up everyone inside. James's link is in the title, so if you haven't subscribed, hit that blue hyperlink. Take you straight to James's channel, man. When you said about investment and like kicking on and stuff like that, like, listen, you spent a lot of money on Darwin Nunez.
Yeah,
right? And I know it's very easy to pick on him because he's the record signing, right? But he's not. When I say he's not like smashing it, then it's funny because he is an easy target, and even I take the mick out of noodles and all of that. He gets himself in great positions, but he don't finish the chances. If he finished half of his chances, I think he's missed the most big chances in the league this season. If he scores half of them, not even half, if he scores a third of them, you're probably battling for 3 points off the top 4 by now. You know, them extra goals that would have scored. But do you think that was a Klopp signing? Because 80 million quid or whatever it was, there was 70 million, whatever it was you spent him. For me, in my head, if that was his signing, then I'm baffled because you needed midfielders. Your midfield is Fabinho. I mean, somebody check his passport. That guy's not Brazilian, mate. Yeah, that guy is not Brazilian. I watched him.
Not this one. Not this Fabinho. I'll tell you that.
Bro, I watched him against Brighton, yeah. And it was like watching... It was like watching somebody, you know, when you've got Sky Plus and you can fast forward and rewind. Yeah. It was like rewinding it. Like it's like he's running backwards when he's running forwards. Bro, what is wrong with this midfield? Like you've got your Ox. I know you're playing him on the left forward position at the moment, but your midfield is a massive issue. Thiago's your best midfielder, and he can never stay fit for long enough. Then you've got Naby Keita, who just didn't want to be there from about a year after he got there, probably before that. How he's still there is mad. Yeah, and you go and do all of that money on Diaz, on Gakpo, and on Noodles, Nunez, whatever you want to call him. If you add up all of them fees, you could have sorted your midfield out. Yes, you've.
We need it. We did need forwards, though. We did, because it'd just be the same. It'd be a case of if we went for midfielders.
Down to Klopp saying like we'll go with forwards and then we'll sort the midfield.
No, because it's not him who controls it.
Saying that the board are going right. Well, we'll get you forwards. And we'll worry about that later. Or is that Klopp saying I want the forwards now? Or
like for instance, this is the way Liverpool have done it, and they've proven this through words that they've said themselves in interviews, and by themselves, I mean Edwards when he was the board of director. Not Edwards, sorry. Who was that? Yeah, Michael. No, who was our most recent board of director?
Oh, I know. I know you mean.
Yeah, either way, the guy who ends up leaving, I'm getting him confused with someone else, I think. but I believe it was Edwards. Either way, he was very much in control of the players that we got, and it's been emphasised that if number 1 weren't available, we go to number 2, and if number 2 weren't available, then we'll go to somewhere else. Because you've got 5 midfielders, you've got 5 attackers. If you can't get number 1 or 2 in the attackers, then why are you going to go to number 3 when you can get the 1 or 2 next summer? And again, this is a team that is on a budget. I'm not trying to say that we're skint, I know that, but when you're trying to compete for the big boy stuff, financially, we just don't have that same spending power, so they are more strategic. Now, it's also been told to me, just based off someone who used to work with the board, he now owns a pub in Ormskirk, and I was working there one day, went in, and he told me that he was in a high role, and essentially, like without revealing his name or nothing, but he was just talking about the structure of the way the owners do it. So John W. Henry will look at the more statistical side, and then the other guy, name evades me, but he basically looks at the actual visual. And then essentially the way it works is they'll hire teams and stuff like that, connect them with the scouts, and they'll employ the players. And that's the sort of, or they'll choose the players that they think will most benefit the team. And that's the sort of way it is. So if number 1 striker isn't available, number 2 striker isn't available, well, we've got midfield that we need to sort out as well. The thing is, we've always got to sort something out. It's just we will never, underneath this ownership, be able to compete with City and stuff like this. Yes, Nunez was a big signing, Diaz was a big signing, Gakpo was a semi-big signing, I suppose. But there was 2 summer transfer windows there where we didn't go and improve. Can you imagine a window where Sir Alex Ferguson didn't go and improve? Pep Guardiola didn't go and improve.
But do you think, James, sorry to cut you off, do you think that's an excuse though? Like, I'm not saying you're making excuses because you don't.
It isn't.
But do you think you're saying you can't compete with City financially? No, of course, nobody can, apart from maybe Newcastle and now Chelsea. Obviously with the
no, but they can still go and get reinforcements every summer. They can still get reinforcements every summer, those teams, whereas we haven't done that. If you miss out even on 1 summer, you're fucked.
You're 2 years behind.
You're fucked. So we're already 2 years behind on the depth. We replaced Gini with Thiago, which is not like for like. Whereas if you look at City, for instance, they had Rodri in before they let go Fernandinho.
But that's why
got many examples of this.
Because everyone's having a dig at Chelsea, saying they're getting all these players in and buying all these players. In the current football, in current transfer market, every team's got money now. Like Newcastle, even Everton can go and blitz 40 million on a Wobie and players like that. That was years ago, but they can still go out there and pull players. Look at Orsic. He's not the most expensive signing, but that's a big pull for Southampton. Yeah, to get Orsic in there, that's a good pull for them. Everyone can pay wages now. And that's why when people are taking the mick out of Chelsea, I think that they're doing it. Yes, it looks scattergun and erratic and hijacking deals and all that. But rather than getting rid of players and having all that cash and everyone knows, oh, look, Chelsea have got loads of money from these sales. Let's whack the price even higher. They're going out there and stockpiling and then they're going to sell. Right. So people are having a dig saying they've spent nearly $500 million, which is cool. But when they actually get rid of all the dross, and there is a lot of dross, they'll still get about 200 odd mil back. So then whereas if they got rid of the dross first, they probably would have paid more for Mudryk. They probably would have paid more for Felix. They would have paid more for all these other players they're getting in. So I understand what you're saying. Like, if you have to go out there and be competitive in the market, and if you miss one window, that does, especially when you're at that level, it does set you back 2 seasons.
This is the thing. People say to me, you make excuses. People say to me, you make excuses. No, I display my reality that I believe we don't have owners who are good enough to compete for league titles season in, season out. I think they quite clearly shown they are more than satisfied with the revenue they will generate from Champions League games and expanding the stadium, which, by the way, the stadium expansion weren't out their own back pocket either. That was a fucking loan. So let's not talk about, FSG are great and they've done all this shit. They tried to take away from the traditions of the football club. That's first and foremost why I want them gone. They tried to do the Super League. That was the nail in the coffin for me. They tried to do the ticket prices. That was bullshit. They don't align with us. They tried to trademark Liverpool again. Doesn't agree with me, doesn't sit with me. So forget transfers. I am okay being an authentic club who competes for 4th and 5th, but be transparent with the transmission, with the ambition, because you're coming to Liverpool when we're in the sorrow after Hicks and Gillette. You take over, you take advantage, which, fair enough, you got us back to a great position. That is granted. But you also hit the jackpot with a very lucky manager, because let's be honest, before Jurgen Klopp, it weren't looking bright. And you actually had a decent coach in Brendan Rodgers, who went on to win trophies at Leicester, which shows to me he was at least good enough to win a couple of trophies. It weren't just because he weren't good enough as a manager.
He went to Celtic after that.
And he went to Celtic and won trophies. What does that display to me? In those two clubs and in those periods, the structure was great. We know in hindsight Leicester have fell off in terms of structure, but then it was sound. Liverpool didn't have no structure. Right now, we still struggle with structure. It's mad. And the only reason why we won the league and Champions League is because Klopp, let's be honest, was Mane a world beater before he joined Liverpool? No. Salah? No. Firmino? Certainly not. And you can say the same for near enough every signing, besides from when we started signing Van Dijk, Alisson, Fabinho, and Thiago, let's say. So it's not excuses. It's just the simple reality that these owners can't go and get the world beaters. They can't go and get Mbappe's who... Mbappe said himself, I wouldn't have mind joining Liverpool. So I'm just saying, and he said that in an interview where I saw him speak. So the only point and premise that I make is people can say, oh, James, you're making excuses all you want. It's like, no, why are they saying that we're competing for league titles and stuff like that when we can't spend like the other clubs? And spending is one of the key fundamentals to success.
And the thing is, like, your owners are very similar to Spurs owners. Yeah, they spend, and very similar to the Cronkies.
They're very similar to yours as well, I was about to say. Very similar
because they don't, like, our owners don't put any money in. Your owners, I actually thought your owners built that extra stand, but now you said it was a loan. I get that now. Yeah, but they've not actually physically took their own money. I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they bought Liverpool so cheap that if they sell it now, they're minted, and they're not
300 mil.
Well, there you go, and it's worth billions now. Yeah, the same as Tottenham. Billions. Tottenham owners bought that for, I think Daniel Levy's got 30% or 20% of Tottenham, and that was about 40 million quid, something like that. And that club's now worth billions. Like,
and Lee, I'm not trying to. You're onto the way girls nowadays. They're like, right, I want a man who's 6'4". He's got to be earning 300 grand a year. He's got to be doing this. He's got to have abs. He's got to have muscles. Even though that, like, I don't want to be that person where it's like, I want an owner who's a Liverpool fan, a billionaire. He's going to go and buy transfers every summer. I get no one's perfect. But you know, when you've got a set of owners who try to take away the traditions of football, the one thing I'll respect about PSG's owners, they had the money to say, fuck you. We're not getting involved in this bullshit. I want owners who can have that same transparency, that same authority is the word I'm looking for, sorry. If you have that same authority, it's very good to be able to just say, right, we don't need to get on board with what you're doing. We've got the fans to appease to. Of course, they're going to be here to make a buck. But that's not the main incentive because, let's be honest, a lot of these, you know, Arabs and Middle Eastern places, they're here to flex, my G. They're here to spend, and they're here to have a belt.
PSG is a drop in their wealth. It's just a toy.
Exactly. So the point to me, so the conclusion always for me is just, okay, if you want to keep FSG sound, I won't be happy about it. But okay, if you're happy with being a top 6 team who maybe could push on for top 4 and maybe once in every 10 years win a Premier League.
His battery probably died. We might get audio James in a minute. But yeah, no, I totally agree with him. Like, transparency is key. And this is the thing, right? I rate the Scousers because they do protest. Yeah, they do. And when they protested against the ticket prices going up to 77 quid, they were 2-0 up. I think it was against Sunderland. And they all walked out on the 77th minute and ended up drawing 2-2. Guess what? The ticket prices didn't go up. Yeah, and I rate Liverpool fans for that. Yeah, this is where Liverpool have got, as a fan base now, James, have got to come back round to what do we want now? Because people will give Klopp time because it's Jurgen Klopp and he's won every trophy. But now it's like, it's very easy to blame an ownership. But at the same time, the owner's not picking the team. The owner's not doing the tactics. The owner's not making the subs. The owner's not they're putting a different game plan together. The owner's not standing on the touchline orchestrating what's going on. Right? And I think your fans are giving him about another year or so. Yeah, until the end of the
manager.
Yeah, I think they'll give him until the end of next season. Your fan base, a lot will turn. Like, if you don't, like, we know that Liverpool, when they get Jota back, Diaz back, and some of their other players back, we know that you're going to start going up the table. We all know that. Same with Chelsea. Everyone can take the mick and laugh and joke. We know that you're not going to finish 10th. We know that you're going to finish probably in the top 6, the same as Chelsea. Right, and the teams that are up there, Fulham and all of that, they'll slowly drop back down over time, right? But then in the summer, if your owners are still there in the summer and you haven't sorted that ownership problem out, then what? Because you're not going to go out and do the dough because but this is where your owners are stupid. And listen, me calling a billionaire stupid is probably the most.
No, they're very smart, and this is where you go on. I'll let you finish your point, but I'll tell you why they're intelligent.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they were smart, what they would do is exactly what the Glazers have done. We want to sell our football club. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it as valuable as possible by going out and doing dough to make the team a lot better. So then we can attract more people because the share prices go up, the better we're doing. Yeah, more people are buying and spending on merch, etc., etc. But I fear that your club in the summer, if it's not sold by the summer, your club are going to go, boy, we ain't really spending any money this summer. We just want to get out of here. And even if they get out of there with, I don't know, $500 million less than they expected, they've still made a massive profit.
They're not looking to leave. This is what the most. Can you hear me fine, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Yeah. Apologies, guys. Me camera's doing a madness, and hopefully the audio is better now. But on the point of FSG, it's really a case of the reason why they're so intelligent is because they have the ability to be able to control the entire fan base with what you've mentioned a lot of the time, PR. When you've got someone like Jurgen Klopp, and Lee, you've said that a lot of people will turn. I highly doubt that, my friends. I think people will always look at the owners before they look at the manager. I think we've got that disconnect with FSG, but the reason why they've been able to hold themselves so much credit in the bank is the fact that whether it's Jurgen Klopp or them, they can attach themselves to the Premier League, the first one in 30 years. They can attach themselves to the 6th Champions League trophy. They can attach themselves to some of the great signings and the great decisions that they've made. But then they can also detract from all the terrible things that they've done. And this is why they're intelligent, because they can manipulate the fan base in believing that we're going to kick on and achieve things, which is what keeps fans going. It's the hope that kills you. It's the hopeless dreams. It's the endless nights. It's all these things where FSG can come out and say next season we're going to kick on. For instance, when we won the Champions League, oh, don't worry, guys. Next season, we need to show the urgency, man. We need to show the urgency. We need to go and buy some football players. I mean, soccer, but football. Sorry, that's what you say over here, right? No, yeah, damn right. I know I said baseball for a second there, but that's not the case, my man. Next season, we're going to kick on. We're going to spend £300 million, and we're going to have a great time. Now, they never said that, but when you tell me you're going to kick on after winning a Champions League, that says to me you're going to do some pretty serious stuff. And instead, what did you go and do? You showed no agency, you showed no fight, and you slowed us down. And yes, luckily, we had a starting 11 that was developed, trained, improved by Jurgen Klopp to a point where it was getting 90. Think of the greatest Premier League sides of all time. And the Sadio Manes, the Mo Salahs, the Jordan Hendersons, Lee, was able to all simultaneously achieve 97 points. Now, whether that says to me the players were world-class for 3 or 4 seasons, or we've just got an elite manager, I'll let you choose. And that's why I'll always go back that FSG are the smartest owners, because they've got a manager who, let's be honest, they're limiting potential massively. And then it gets to a point where he's going to get these conversations, because the blame always goes to the manager when shit goes south, and rightly so to a degree. But when it comes to seconds and stuff, I can't get on that.
It's easier to get a manager out than it is to get an owner out. I mean, let's be real. Like Mike Ashley used to sit in Newcastle with his chest hanging out, and his moves out, just down in pints for fun as they're all singing Ashley out, like he didn't care. Yeah, but as soon as he got a big enough offer, he scarpered. And it all comes down to money. Listen, you don't become a billionaire if you're dumb at business, like unless you inherit $1 billion off your parents or whatever. Yeah, it just don't happen, right? So. Like I think Blackpool, they did absolutely everything to get the Oyston family to get them out, and I think the only way they ended up getting out is because they got done by the taxman. Yeah, and they were throwing tennis balls on the pitch. They were going to the games but not going in the stadium. They were doing
not
everything.
Easy to get owners out, mate. Listen, I know that the task is a mountain to be dealt. We actually have to wait till they just leave. It's not going to be a case of we're going to be able to get them out. I've got people on Twitter saying, James, you're the only Liverpool platform talking about FSG out. Get them out. And I'm just like, what the fuck do you want me to do? What? So we are. I'm going to get a group together. We'll win 3 games in a row, and I'll get 100,000 Liverpool fans saying to me, James, FSG are great. What are you on about? It's going to be inconsistent.
That's the problem, isn't it? That is exactly.
A lot of Liverpool fans don't even know what they want, because they'll have an opinion at one point. So when the Super League occurred, Lee, every Liverpool fan and their nan wanted Liverpool to get rid of those owners. But then an apology video comes out, and do you know what the most ironic thing is? Liverpool fans knew the apology was bullshit, and we're still custy with them, Lee. Oh, if you could see the rage on my face and the veins that are popping out of my neck right now, I swear to God, you'd understand the emotion and the sincere disbelief of stupidity in our fan base. It is unbelievable to me, and I'm not saying I'm the brightest star in the sky.
Football fans in general now, like I've been on.
No, it's modern day people.
Yeah, modern day people.
Do you know what, Lee? Do you know like Our ancestors, they were beasts. They went to wars. Fucking hell, the stories that you must have heard of a kid must have been belter. But our generation, the one above us, gradually as time have gone by, we've got more disappointing by the years. And ours is a fuckery. The ones below us is going to be a fuckery. God bless my kids, lads. I'm going to try and live on a farm before I get any kids into this world, because I don't want them getting involved in none of this madness. But it translates very much into football.
100%, mate. Listen, football fans are not the brightest sparks at the best of times, and everything's recency bias. It's like everything's like reactionary. Like, you know, the other day, Felix, I've been bigging up Felix, saying Arsenal should have signed him. He gets sent off, and all of a sudden my chat's lighting up with, "Oh, you were in the mud. Oh, you're in the mud." And it's like, mate, Felix is still a top class footballer. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm getting people saying I need to apologise to Arteta and to Odegaard and to Ben White, and it's like, mate, they're doing what they smashed the stadium down for. I've only waited like how many years? Do you know what I mean? Why do I need to apologise for my standards always being up there to win a title or compete? I've got a couple of super chats I want to read out real quick. Big up to everyone in here, man. There's over 600 in here. Make sure you sub to James's channel. The link's in the title. His camera's died on his phone.
I have a face on there, don't worry. It's not just a still photo.
Hiding behind a footballer profile picture, yeah?
Yeah, you're on that, lads. I've got a tan on this photo, though.
Oh, you have, mate. That's because it was nighttime. Hey, was that when you said about Mane? Yeah, what you laughing at? I'm being serious.
That's the one. When the balls hadn't dropped yet.
I seen that pop up on TikTok again the other day, man. Like, that clip, mate, the amount of people that have posted that, the collective views on that have got to be touching 1 billion, mate.
I honestly debate, shout out Troops and all other content creators. I genuinely believe that individual fan cam off all platforms it's ever been posted on, the notoriety it gains, I think that one fan cam is the biggest fan cam YouTube's ever seen. But
100%. 100%. Listen, I was outside your ground when the Pratt in the Hat did a video, and it had 3 million views, maybe 4 million on AFTV. And that was when we got battered. That was when Bellerin tried Cruyff turning and Salah run all the way down the pitch. Yeah, but that was mad. Yeah, that fan cam went lit. But yeah, that clip collectively over all of the platforms, like, bro, that's probably touching 1 billion views on.
Not even a doubt, because there was an English, there was a British meme page, and the views was 20 million. Just on that one meme page, and ever since I'm tagged in Instagram reels, other TikToks, where it just separately, one will have 1 million, one will have 2 million, one will have 500,000. And bear in mind that interview's been out for 5 years now, so it's got 4 million on YouTube. A whole TikTok of 3 years has had probably like 4 or 5 different waves. Honestly, the fan cam went bigger than I could have ever expected. It was belted that people saw the funny side of it, because do you know when it very first
you
got
were
out?
Actually being serious as well. And do you know what? The funny thing is, at that point, Sadio Mane was definitely in the top 3-4 players in the world at that point.
Do you know, in my mind, in that moment when I didn't know as much about football as I do now, I genuinely believe, like, in that moment he was the best. Like, I was thinking in my head on form. That was the way my young brain was going about it. And of course, I was young, Liverpool biased, and we were starting to get really good. It was a very rosy era with Jurgen Klopp and stuff. It was really cool to see like how good he ended up becoming. Like, before that interview, we had no trophies at Liverpool. After that interview, we won everything.
That's mad. Let me read these super chats out real quick. Big up to everyone in it, man. That fan cam's on 4.3 right now. Apparently somebody's put in the chat. Pete R says, Klopp deserves this season, but if we don't finish top 7 next season we start the same, then the pressure starts. What do you guys think of, is it Bajetic and Doak?
Bajetic and Doak, yeah. So a big fan of both. Big fan of both. So the brief one, the brief explanation of both players. Bajetic, decent holding midfielder, got a little bit of everything. Very mature performances from when I see him, and you know what, lads, I'm happy with him in the helm of the midfield. And then Doak, he's the one I'm excited for. Lee, I think you'd be a big fan
when you came on. I know it was only Brighton and you were getting battered.
He's your type of player. He's flary. He's got a nice touch. He's good on the ball. He comes from Celtic. And we signed him from their academy, and he was actually quite a hefty fee for an academy player. So big signing, and he's stepping up to the plate every time he comes on the pitch. His first appearance was in the FA Cup against Derby County not too long ago, and essentially he came on for 15 minutes and he never got a goal, never got an assist, and I walked out of that stadium saying what a player that Ben Doak is. And this is what I say to people about eye test, because every time Ben Doak has played since, it's the bare minimum, the things that Arsene Wenger said you don't learn after the age of 14. The technique's there, man.
Yeah, you can't teach first touch and all that. Like, look at Lukaku, for example. Do you know what I mean?
It's what worries me about Nunez, you know? Like, that's the thing that worries me about Nunez, is that, for instance, Harvey Elliott, he's small, he's fragile, but he can get bigger. That's not impossible to improve. Whereas Nunez's first touch doesn't get any better. His decision-making, maybe, but everything else...
The thing is, he arrives in the right places in the box, yeah, which is natural instinct. Like, it's like watching... He's nowhere near as good as Haaland. Like,
do you know what I'll give him? Do you know what someone said...
runs.
No, you're right, Lee. But you know what's mad? Shout out to Mario, who's one of my good friends, right? He's like a top red Liverpool fan. And I can still appreciate top reds, but I just don't agree with them. And he said to me, no, but James, Nunez runs. He runs. And I'm just like, if I wanted a marathon sprinter, I would have called Mo Farah. Yeah, I would have called Usain Bolt, sorry. And then, lads, he said to me, what did he say afterwards? He was like, oh, and he never gives up. He keeps getting chances. I was like, if I wanted anyone who never gave up, I'd have got John Cena. So I don't know why you're talking to me about these attributes. You haven't said to me that he's a great footballer. You haven't told me the key fundamentals of what a Liverpool number 9 should have. Come on, Lee. We've been shit for years, yeah. Lee, we've been shit for years, but you know, over recent times, the one thing Liverpool have mostly been able to brag about is their number 9s.
Mate, even back in the day, Robbie Fowler, like even further back than that, Ian Rush.
Ian Rush, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, Luis Suarez. Let's even go a category below that with Daniel Sturridge. Like, what a striker Daniel Sturridge was.
Mate, that goal he scored against Sevilla. I know you lost that final. That goal against Sevilla in the final.
Beautiful.
Oh my days, what a finish. He also, this super chat also says, what are Liverpool's best free signings? I think he means under Klopp.
Van Dijk, Alisson, and you've got to say Salah, don't you?
Yeah, you'd have to. He also dropped another super chat. Nunez can either become world class or the worst player ever, which is true. Yeah. Not the worst player ever, but he could be.
I don't think he becomes. I think he gets world class numbers. He doesn't become a world class player. That's the only thing I say to people about Nunez. Like, listen, he's good enough for now. I think he's good enough for a top 4 team, top 6 team. But like Chelsea fans got complacent with Werner, the same thing's going to happen with Nunez, and it's not going to improve. And Lee, remember, once upon a time, we were linked with Werner. So, to be honest, you asked me before, and I don't think I answered it because it cut off. But I do think Nunez might have been either a Klopp signing or a board signing. Depends, because they were looking for a quick player in behind, because they tried to get Werner. Never worked, got Nunez.
But you know what? I think if you had got Werner, I think he would have slapped at Liverpool.
He's better. I say to people, he's better than Nunez, and people think I'm ludicrous for it. I'm like, this is a player who's won a fucking Champions League and scored the same amount of goals in the Bundesliga than what Nunez scored in the Portuguese league. I don't think it's a terrible thing to say Werner's better.
Mate, I think the way you played the way you were playing until this season, when they signed him, I think if he had gone to Liverpool, I think he would have been brilliant. Like, real talk.
He still would be. I think, like,
the teams and sit and high press and all of that. And he does work his nuts off, like, in pressing and running the channels. He just... Chelsea was just a wrong fit. But listen, Chelsea have ruined enough forward players.
But the point is, though, Lee, is that even though we would have got Werner, what was everyone saying when we didn't get Werner? Oh, thank fuck we didn't get Werner and we got Jota. That was such a great decision from whoever made that. And what's mad is now that we've got Nunez, we're praising him for all the same things that Chelsea fans were trying to praise Werner, but just couldn't after a certain point.
Francis says Nunez pisses his pants in front of goal, needs to improve, and Liverpool's current state isn't helping. See, that's the thing. If you've got a team that are underperforming, but you've got a striker that can bang, I think his battery's completely gone this time. Maybe, I don't know. No, he's back.
No, it's back. Sorry, that was just me.
If you've got a team that are underperforming, and I like the easiest example is go back to Arsenal when Van Persie was there. Right, we were underperforming in terms of the players on the pitch weren't doing it, but we knew bang that ball to Van Persie, get him on the left foot, it's in the back of the net, and he scored 30 odd goals that season, which dragged us up the table. If we had a striker that banged half of them goals, we probably would have finished 10th, and that's the same with Liverpool right now. If Nunez takes half of the chances you put on the plate for him, you'd probably be 4th, or in worst ways, you'd definitely be 5th. Yeah, because he has had a lot of big chances. And
it's Salah you've got to talk about, though, Lee. Salah's the one, like, Nunez is new, and Like, yeah, okay, he's missing
He's
chances.
dropped off a cliff, hasn't he?
Salah's the fucking, like, he's missed the second most chances behind Nunez. Doesn't
Why
mean
do you
that
think
Nunez.
that is, though?
Because lad, he's always missed chances. I think. Do you know what I think it is? I think he got it in his own brain that he's in the conversation with the Cristiano Ronaldos of this world. Because when he hit the peak, he was getting similar numbers to these top players. I'm not saying compare Ronaldo's peak and Salah's peak. I'm saying when Salah hit his peak to Ronaldo in that moment, he was getting more numbers than Ronaldo. So in his brain, he's thinking, I can chat to these guys. And now that he's dropped off, now that last season he lost the AFCON and lost a little bit of his invincibility, that knocked huge confidence, therefore led to bad decision-making, and that's only continued game by game, and he's getting more desperate to improve numbers, and he's still got them, but he just rushes the chances too much, and it's just not the same ruthless Salah with the same confidence, but also he looks slower, also he just seems to make the wrong passes, and I think it's a little bit to do with the system, because him and Nunez are just like for like, running behind, hope to get a chance.
Do you think that getting rid of Mane is like a big problem in that though? Because like, although there's like, it's very easy to point to Mane and say Mane's out the team, but you have got Jota, you have got Diaz. Yes, they're both injured. I like Jota, by the way. I think he's a good player, and I think he gives you something slightly different, because he can hold the ball up. He can do. He's not as technically sound as some of the other players in the Premier League, but he's still a very good player. Yeah, and he always scores against us. It's frustrating as hell, but do you think that Mane coming out of that team has hindered that front line? Because Mane was the one that would always press. He'd be the first point of press. Then Salah would go. Then you'd have Firmino. Firmino was always the link guy. Now you've got Nunez running in behind rather than being the link guy. And it's almost like, Firmino needs. I don't know if he's injured, but Firmino needs to play more games, mate. Real talk, because that guy.
Nah, he's injured as well. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I think if you have him up front, he won't score as many goals. But he was that link, that front three, Mane, Firmino, Salah. Without Firmino in that position, them other two wouldn't have bagged the figures they were bagging.
I think not that it was like for like, but I think Diaz was supposed to be that player for Mane, and he was doing well on the left wing last season. And bear in mind, Mane done really poor in his last year and a half at Liverpool at left wing. It was the final 6 months where he transitions into the false nine, where he went, and we couldn't keep hold of him. We didn't pay him as much money as Bayern Munich, which is again why I kind of go back to the boards always when having these conversations. There's more money to be made. There's more ambition at Bayern Munich from a winning trophies point of view. Again, I go back to the owners. So there was much more incentive for Mane to go. Weren't much we could do to keep him. And if he stayed, he weren't the solution either. I don't think if we have Mane right now, we're significantly better, because you've still got the defence playing shit. You've still got Fabinho and Thiago not running in certain games. And then whoever else, that other midfielder is, they're not doing their job. And then the front three are just missing chances. And again, we haven't had Jota for a large portion of the season. Same with Diaz. I think if we had those players, then yeah, we wouldn't miss Mane as much. But if Mane was here, I think he'd just be kind of fallen into the same trap. If he was playing a false nine, continued to play that role, maybe he could have kept the momentum going. But at the end of the day, Lee, if you're going to keep Sadio Mane, you might as well keep everyone else. Hindsight's 2020, and we made the wrong decision in keeping Salah. From the looks of it, it looks like if his contract ran out in the summer, it probably doesn't look like it'd be a bad thing. But we've made the decision now. Mane's also gone. Let's hope Diaz and Jota works out and start getting more options, add to the competitiveness, and stop just starting these players because their name's Van Dijk and the name's Salah. Just let them in the spot.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, there's 670 people in it over the two platforms. Make sure you sub to James's channel. We are going to wrap up in a sec because his battery's about to conk out. But two questions I want to ask you before we end the stream. Big up to everyone who has liked the stream as well. First question, you just said about Salah and if he was out of contract, like in hindsight and all of that. Like I went viral for a video saying Welbeck's better than Salah. Would you take Welbeck at Liverpool right now?
No.
Not even as an Origi type substitute figure?
No.
Well, that shut me up then. Second question, you've got Chelsea at the weekend. Are you confident? Give me a score prediction. Are you going to beat them? Are you going to lose? What's the crack?
The mid-classical. How are you asking me? The mid-classical, the fight for 10th. No, lads, I don't know how that game's going to go, to be honest with you, Lee. Did you hear me prediction yesterday on the Big Six Extra?
Mate, you had me in stitches yesterday, I swear. You and Cams had me crying every time I watch it, man. Cams is just a joker. He just sits there. His reverse psychology game's hilarious. Right, it's just funny, man. Yeah, and then you
Funny.
just come and throw little digs in, slide digs every now and again. It's fun. It's proper jokes.
I just keep everyone on the toes, mate. But nah, it's genuinely, I don't know what's going to happen in the game. It just depends who turns up shitter. You know, who wants it less. Like that's the biggest factor going into the game for me. And I'm not really worried no more. I'm got touch wood. I'm confident we're not going to get relegated. Yeah.
Yeah. I've just checked. It's at Anfield. Yeah.
It is at Anfield. I think for that reason we could nick something. I'm happy that it's not Thomas Tuchel because we always struggle to beat a Chelsea Thomas Tuchel side. But if I had to give a score prediction, I'll say 2-1 win, but not a pretty 2-1 win, and that's just me being optimistic. So we'll see.
No, big up, man. Listen, I appreciate you coming on. I know you've had mad technical difficulties. Anyone?
Do you know what, lad? I'll sort that out for next week. But yeah, guys, if anyone has any idea. Please do.
Anyone who is watching this is a wizard on OBS. Yeah, Mrs. James Redmond 97. James Redmond 97 on Insta.
97.
Yeah, make sure you Insta him, help him out with OBS because it's just OBS is the most complicated software to use anyway, mate.
It's even worse when because I know OBS always can mess up, so I like to set up half an hour before the stream, and I was fiddling about with it for like 15 minutes, and then next thing you know, we're about to go live, so I'm thinking to myself, shit, and it's always the worst times when OBS wants to mess up. Never when you're just trying to test something out, it's always go time.
Yeah, absolute facts. Listen, love for coming on, man. James's link is in the title. Go and sub to him, man. We'll be doing this every Wednesday at 4 p.m. UK time, people. Tonight, I'm back with Goonie at 7 p.m. on his channel. What you got coming up?
Loads of shit, lads. I mean, there's news coming out every day. There's a video out on the channel about an update on the ownership if people are keen on finding out more about that. Most recent video, and then there's the match reaction to the Wolves game. That's the first match reaction I've been happy in for weeks and weeks and weeks. So loads on the channel out there, and there's loads to come up, so please do subscribe.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, I'll be back again later this evening with a transfer video, so keep your eyes peeled for that. That'll be about midnight tonight UK time, and then the second one will be dropping at 8 a.m. Tomorrow I've got loads to do as well. I'm on with Johnny Minerals, I'm on with Goonie on here, so yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll be streaming once I'm up and about lunchtime as well, so the work don't stop at the moment, people. But for now, we are out of here. Love for coming on as well, James, man. Appreciate it.
Big up, man. Thanks for having me.
Adios, amigos. Ciao.